Hey everyone, I'm Emeka here from my self-publishing blueprint, and on Ask a Pro today I'm sitting down with Kelly Roberts. Yes, she is the wife of Dale L. Roberts, the self-publishing nerd, and I have a chance to bring to you and learn myself, as this is Ask a Pro. It's my chance to sit down with a pro in a specific area. And today is going to be all about Createspace and some different things that you can be using with this platform in order to generate some sales and some incomes for yourself. So Kelly, welcome to the channel. Great to see you.
Thank you. Awesome to be here.
Excellent. And all right, so let's dive into it. Let's first off, why don't we go through a bit of your journey? Tell me, how did you get into the whole self-publishing realm, and how did you start? Because it's kind of a different thing to be doing.
It was a little bit different. I started working for myself back in 1998 with eBay part-time. And then I did the whole corporate 9-to-5 thing. And I remember the first day I went to my first desk job, I was like, oh my God, this looks like prison. But I stayed there because I was told it was the right thing to do, get a consistent paycheck, get benefits, yada, yada. Fast forward several years later, I was just fed up, and Dale's like, why don't you just do this, full time? So I started with the eBay thing full time. And then that sort of went downhill. Didn't enjoy it, so I found Jason Brock, one of our good buddies now, and he talked about this publishing thing. So I'm like, okay, let's try it. So 3 years later, here I am.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so now let's talk about Createspace. Now this is all Createspace it's probably about 85 to 90% of my income from publishing. I think most nonfiction publishers will agree that most of their income is coming from either paperbacks or ACX, versus fiction publishers. They're going to get the majority of their royalties through pages, right through the KDP Select program. Let's talk about as much as you can without giving away all your secrets, because as we were talking about before off camera, the problem about giving away your niche or your specifics about your business, it's not that you want to bring others down. It's just some people are just lazy and they'll just straight up and copy you. And this has happened to me with one of my best niches, and it's a pain in the butt, and it hurts, especially when they don't even bother to change their keywords, descriptions, or anything, and they just basically copy and paste but it's a whole another story.
Oh yeah. That's funny you say that, because I'm dealing with a copyright on the one I showed you off camera.
Yeah.
Someone copied it word for word, so I'm dealing with Amazon right now to get that taken down.
Maybe that's something I should look at. Okay. Well, so let's talk about what you're doing, because you're doing something a little unique on Createspace. Tell me about it.
Well, I'm not a writer. Writing is not fun to me. So I was trying the whole outsourced writers thing, and I got frustrated at the sales. So I'm like, okay, there has to be a better way. I have to be able to make a full-time income, pay my bills, and not hire anyone else. So I did some research, watched a webinar, and I found a niche where it's very profitable. It's $1 billion industry, and I don't have to do a lot of writing besides keywords and description. So I just went full force into it. I have about 3,000 plus titles now, and it's been treating me well. It's a lot of fun. It's taken me about a year to get there, and I think I've set enough hits, so if people are paying attention, they could probably figure out what I'm doing.
That's awesome. Now, because I definitely don't want to give it away, because it is something that's it's bringing in some good money for you right now, and we don't want you dealing with more copycats. So you found it by so basically you were thinking outside of the box, right?
Thinking outside outside the box, and Dave Koziel, I don't know if you know him, he used to be big on the YouTube. He had a webinar about this niche, and it took me a while to get my stride going, but starting last Q4 I saw some profits in it, and just 2017 I've just been publishing. So it was just me paying attention and seeing what webinars are out there and just taking the ball and rolling with it.
Let's talk about finding a unique niche. That's one of the things that I always am telling my students inside my self-publishing blueprint is don't go where everyone else is going.
Right, that's a good advice.
Go somewhere different, because for me, my first book was emotional intelligence or something like that, or emotional habits, but it was personal development. Second book, weight loss. Third book, self-help. All 3 books flopped. Fourth book, completely out of left field. It wasn't even a thing on Amazon, but it just took off, and I've built a brand. I have a store for it. It makes me a couple of thousand every month, and it's really starting to morph into something. How do you go against the grain, and how do you find these more obscure niches to publishing? Can you share some tips on that?
I think it's trial and error, because I started my first book was published April of 2015, and I struggled with that so much. My first book was in positive thinking and self-help. It still sells, but not to my satisfaction. So I would say Amazon is your best friend. Go look at categories. If you don't know how to do that, Google how to look at Amazon categories and just spend time researching what's in the catalog. There might be some gurus out there that say, publish in something that's already ranking well. But I think you need to find something that, 1, you enjoy, and 2, there's not much out there. Because if you don't enjoy what you're publishing and you have to go down the rabbit trail of hiring someone out, it's not going to be good work, and it's just going to be temporary success, if any at all.
It's funny you mentioned that. I published in a niche that I wasn't super excited about. I found out about when it was kind of going up and getting hotter, and then eventually I just jumped into it. But I was so uninterested in that niche that writing the description I had to outsource because I just hated the topic. And
exactly.
Right, I don't do anything with those books now, because I just can't stand the topic, but they bring in a little bit of money every month. So definitely going after stuff you're more interested in, I think is, especially for newbies, wouldn't you agree? Because when you face challenge, because I'm sure you faced a couple challenges and roadblocks as you were getting into this new niche, did you?
Absolutely, and it's so funny because after I did the self-help book, I found Carla Marie's fiction course, and the niche I went into was stepbrother romance, which was the hot thing at the time, and now...
Sorry, I gotta give a good laugh to those books. That sounds like something that might... Well, I don't want YouTube to be censoring me, but I'm sure you can think of the websites I'm thinking of. But... we'll keep it PG. All right, so stepbrother romance.
And now I don't do Kindle Unlimited. That's a whole nother topic. I'm trying to publish on different platforms, and they don't even accept stepbrother romance anymore because it's considered incest. So that's a problem, because if I would have just published something I enjoyed from the get-go, I could possibly be publishing on all the platforms by now. But I have hundreds of dollars invested, so I'm just stuck with these books just on Amazon. So, but it's also funny, on a different, similar topic, this niche I'm into now, I've actually enjoyed since I was a kid, and I never put the 2 and 2 together in my mind that, oh, I like this. Oh my God, I can publish it on Amazon. So it's also just trying to think outside the box again.
Kelly, that is exactly what I'm talking about. I have so many videos on this that don't think about what you're interested in now. Go back to when you were a child. Think about those things that you were doing growing up. Like, I keep using a fishing example. I've never looked into fishing or anything like that on Amazon or Kindle. I don't know if there's a market for it. but really there's a market for almost anything in this day and age. But that's how you have to think outside of the box to find these obscure niches that bring in a lot of money. You don't have to be hanging out in the bestsellers list. You don't have to be doing the top three niches: weight loss, self-help, and cookbooks, in order to make some good income on Amazon. And those aren't bad niches to get into, right? Like the romance ones for fiction are not bad niches. They're the most profitable and lucrative niches, but they just require more skill sets than new publishers have. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. All right, so let's go back to Createspace. Let's talk about some tips or hacks that you've learned from publishing on Createspace. Is there anything that you do specifically that people might find valuable or might not know about that specific platform?
General to publishing, or when you say hack, like a business hack in general?
Hey, you know what? Anything. Let's just leave it open, and then we'll also kind of compare it to KDP Paperback as well, because I know we were kind of talking about that just off camera. There are some benefits to KDP Paperback as well that you've been looking into. So whichever way you want to go with it, let's roll.
I would say, as far as tips, doing as much in bulk as possible. Because at least for my niche, I didn't really see the money come in till about 4 or 5 months ago.
Okay.
So with my niche, you're not going to make tons of money if you just have 5 or 10 books out. So publishing as much in bulk as possible, because unfortunately with my niche, the downside is it's about volume as opposed to, just the 1-2 books out there. So people could get frustrated. That's helped me out a lot. One day I'll make 30 covers. The next day I'll publish those 30 books. Then the next day I'll approve them all. That really cuts down my time quite a bit. So that would be a general business tip I have.
Awesome. What about the difference between KDP Paperback and Createspace? What are some of the pros and cons because you're on both platforms right now, yes?
Yes, and I do think there's a different audience for both KDP and Createspace.
Okay.
I could get down to the, nitty gritty. One of the big differences, I think there's 2 big differences. KDP Paperback only allows publishing on Amazon right now. They say they're in the beta phase, so it's not perfect. Createspace allows you to publish on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, like other bookstores and stuff like that. And then the pay is also different. Createspace is typically in 30 days. KDP is in 60. So you can look at that as a downside or an advantage. I look at it as an advantage because you get more consistent revenue.
Right.
If you have a really hot selling book, put it the same niche on 2 platforms so you have consistent revenue coming in.
Put the same niche on 2 platforms. Now, are you able to publish on both Createspace and KDP Paperback, like the same book, or does you need to do different books, right?
You have to do different books.
Right, okay.
So I'm sorry if that was confusing. With my niche, I have competing pen names. So I have one pen name on Createspace and then another one on KDP. I'll have similar titles, different covers, different keywords, and then it's more consistent revenue.
Let's talk about that right there. Competing with yourself. Why? How? Benefits.
Why? Different people have different tastes. Different people are searching for different things. I treat keywords like a game. I don't use any software. I don't do any of that stuff. I just try to think, okay, this is my product. What would people look for? What would they use to search in?
Okay.
So I try to divide it up between the 2 platforms. KDP gives you 7 slots for keywords, up to 50 characters each. Createspace only gives you 5 slots, 25 characters each. So you can play around with the keywords there. So that's my biggest thing. On the back end, there's a few differences as far as entering in the data, approving the draft. So KDP, you do it all beforehand. There's nothing to approve after. Createspace, you have to do some work before Createspace looks at it, and then you have to approve it again.
Right.
So if I'm going out of town, I'll use KDP because it's all done, approved. I don't have to do anything else. So that's another why.
I know going through that approval process through Createspace, at least for one of my latest books, it was my largest book that I've published so far, and it kept getting denied. Their tech team was looking into it, and it turned out there was some sort of code problem within the document.
Oh boy.
And it was horrible, and I had my VA had to literally go and copy and paste each word, each paragraph, each picture without taking any extra space into a new document in order to figure out, in order for the code or the error to stay in the old document. And finally it got approved. But yeah, their tech team was working with me for like a week and a half trying to find why. We tried PDF, it was definitely a pain. Mind you, I published it on Ingram Sparks, no problem. Got up on, no? Ingram Sparks, you're not a fan?
I'm all about easy. So Dale will tell you different. I'm all about easy and getting it out there.
Really? I just did I've just ordered a copy of it so I can check out the quality of the Ingram Sparks. Is Ingram Sparks the paperback? Yes, right? Yeah, it is.
And I know you have to spend money for an ISBN. That's all I know.
Oh, Canada.
Yeah.
So all I had to do was register online, and bada bing, bada boom, ISBNs were given to me from the Canadians. So yeah, but I mean, I am looking forward to seeing the quality difference in terms of their platform and Createspace. However, I did publish it on, it got published on Amazon, and I didn't use my pen name publishing house, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
For Ingram Sparks, and so I go on an Amazon, and I'm like, uh-oh, oh no, what's that doing there? I call Createspace in a panic, and they're like, nope. I'm like, yes, I'm looking at it right now. They're like, nope. You published it anywhere else? Nope. And I'm like, wait, I did. And then I looked into it, changed the name, and problem solved. But I don't even know how we got over there. But okay, when you're competing with yourself, let's stay on track here, Emeka. When you're competing with yourself, how does that help sales? How does that separate you from competitors? Can you kind of explain the difference? Or explain the reasoning behind why, if you have a book on weight loss, you want to have two different pen names going into that, one keyword, so to speak. Because I don't think a lot of publishers are doing that, and it's such a valuable tool to do to take over a specific niche.
No, I have never done this with a written book. Mm-hmm. My books don't contain a ton of writing, so that might be a little bit different, but from my experience, like I said before, people like different things.
Right.
You never know what someone's gonna like and click on. So in my perspective, it's just, getting a wider grasp of the market and trying to reach more people. So that's my whole reasoning behind that. I don't use marketing, so I just rely on Amazon, and so my livelihood is really in their hands. So I just try to get as many products out there as possible.
So when people are searching your keywords, though, because you have two pen names, they're twice as likely to land on one of your books now versus if you only had one pen name.
Yeah, it's like the lottery, pretty much. I mean,
it's like it's like rigging the lottery because you're giving more chances.
Yeah, I mean, this business is not easy, but it's simple. The more you have out there, the more you're gonna make. Period. So that's my whole perspective. I'm sure there's negatives behind it.
Right.
But that's just what I've been doing. I would say the number one reason is for the income. Because I'm about the money. If this ain't making me money, I'm not doing it.
Thank you.
So,
More people need to be about the money because, yeah, I'm absolutely with you on that.
I like my niche. I love waking up and figuring out what I'm going to do. However, if it's making me hundreds of dollars and not paying my bills, no, something's wrong.
Right. Cool. All right.
That would be my, yeah.
No, I really like that. And that's, even myself, I haven't diversified into like, take a book that's, so basically you take a keyword that's doing good, a book that's doing good, just get another pen name, target that exact same keyword, right? Because you already found what's working.
Yeah.
Right? You found what's working. That's the hardest part, right? Getting it working. But once you know it's working, it's bringing you money, just get another pen name, get a third pen name. And
I wish I could be more, different.
no, it's okay.
But I know there's just people out there that would steal it.
Totally.
So I would love to be more specific.
I think the principles apply to I think any book across Amazon, right?
Okay.
Once you have a keyword that's working, probably create another pen name, get a book written, write it yourself, whatever, and target those same or similar keywords.
Yeah.
Because then when people are typing in that keyword, they might see one cover and they're like, eh. Then they see your second cover, completely different pen name. They're like, oh man, that author is so much, like that cover moves me, that cover, whatever. Yeah. And they click on that, but you own both of them. No, that's right there. That could be a game changer for some people. Yeah, it costs a little bit more because you got to get another book written, or you got to write it yourself, or whatever the case is. But you could double.
Or have a male pen name and a female pen name.
Oh, that's another great hack.
Because I used to be a personal trainer, and there's those females that only want to work with a female. So if they're searching and they see like a cute female name, they might click on it. You just never know what people are thinking.
Oh, you're so right. I never thought about the male versus female pen names. And that could be like a whole thing for like, if you're in computer books, you would think computer is more of a male-dominated industry. Get a female pen name in there. One, maybe it'll attract males because they're like, ooh, hot computer girl. Yeah. But three, wow. I should do a book on counting. Two, females who are looking at increasing their knowledge in the computer industry or whatever, they'll see that pen name by, Christina whatever, and they'll be like, oh, I can relate to that, and go with it versus the male pen name. That right there is money.
Because like romance, for example, whenever I wrote romance, I don't have any male pen names. All my pen names are female, and I tried to sexify them.
Okay. Yeah.
So, yeah, I would use that with any niche or genre you're in.
Oh, that's a very, very interesting. I've never put any thought into the sex of my pen names.
Oh yeah, I put a whole character behind them. That's one of my favorite things to do.
Can we talk about that? Like, what do you think about when you're doing your pen names? Because I do basics, but how much thought and effort do you put into them?
Well, with my current niche or my fiction or anything.
Anything in general, I guess.
I just, like when I did my fiction, my first one ever, I did a pen name generator until I found one I liked. I'm like, and then I changed the spelling a little bit to make them unique. Because I'm like, oh, this make it unique and stand out. And then I was like, okay. I was just being creative, and I was like, okay, this girl's gonna be short, brown hair, really sexy, big female boobs, and
yeah.
I just like to put a whole character behind it because even though I was outsourcing it, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I've always liked doing that. And then now for my niche, I think about who the audience might be. And I also Createspace allows you to put keywords in the author name. So I also think about that as well.
What do you mean by that? Keywords in the author name?
Yeah.
So, like, just as the author name, you'll put a, like, can you give us like an example? Not one of yours, but.
Don't use this. This is not sexy at all. However, awesome romance books.
Oh.
Awesome is the first name, romance is the middle, books is the last.
Okay. So that way, so it's not an actual name. You just use the keywords as like the company that's doing all the books type of thing.
You'll see on Amazon, if you do a lot of research, some authors will go crazy and do that for multiple, like they'll have the author name, the publisher, all that. Amazon doesn't like that. They'll eventually flag it.
Okay.
But if you publish on KDP, don't use any keywords as the author. And
Right.
they're getting really picky about the title now too.
Yes, I heard you can't really stuff your keywords in the title or the series title or subtitle. Not only does it look like crap, but yeah, Amazon's starting to crack down on that practice and clean it up a little bit more.
Yeah. And who knows? I mean, since Amazon and Createspace are, family per se, it might crack down in the future, but for now, that's the strategy I use.
That's interesting. That's really cool. Sweet. Any other last tips you want to share with everyone before we wrap things up here?
Keep working hard. Don't treat this business as, it's hard. The process is easy, but it's definitely a hard business. Don't give up after just a few months if you aren't where you want to be. There's people out there that say they made $10,000 in the first month are unicorns. That's not normal. And yeah, keep on hustling. It's Q4, so get your stuff out there.
Awesome.
And thank you for having me.
Yeah, Kelly, this was fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us here on Ask the Pro. Until next time, everyone, I'm Emeka. We'll talk to y'all soon.